Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hi everyone, my name's CJ and I'm the sole host and proprietor of this nifty little YouTube channel called Pause and Effect, where I am referred to as CJ of Pause and Effect. I stream 5 days a week with 4 days dedicated to playing games and 1 day dedicated to game development of some kind, ranging between poking around in game engines or learning new tools such as Blender. I also work as a digital freelancer specializing in game design, UX design, writing, and music composition and editing, and published 4 proof-of-concept games to itch.io in 2024. Go check those out if you're interested. With all that requisite shilling out of the way, I'm here today to talk to you all about a game that's very near and dear to my heart called CrossCode. CrossCode is an indie game that released in 2018 for Switch, PS4 and PS5, Xbox One and Xbox Series, and Steam for Windows, Mac, and Linux. The game was developed by Radical Fish Games and was their breakout indie title, with their second game, Alabaster Dawn, slated to release sometime in 2025. CrossCode is an isometric action RPG with pixel graphics that can best be described as a love letter to SNES games of old, with arguably its biggest inspiration being The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. One might argue it incorporates the DNA of cult classic games such as Secret of Mana, Terranigma, Illusion of Gaia, and Chrono Trigger in its gameplay, and some have even noted similarities to Game Boy Advance titles like Golden Sun and The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. To those who have never played before, players take on the role of Leah, a player in a digital MMORPG-like world called Crossworlds, given a backstory of amnesia and a broken speech module that prevents her from speaking more than just a simple hello and her name. Players are tasked with rehabilitating Leah by playing through Crossworlds' world in the hope that exercising in-game might help her recover her lost memories and remember what she knows. Along the way, you will meet and befriend other players, battle rivals, and make your way through the main story and a high number of side quests, with plenty of cameos to be found throughout the journey. Quick disclaimer, despite some of the MMO-like wording I've used and will continue to use for some of the terms, this game is neither multiplayer nor online, but a single-player game that gives someone the feeling of playing an MMO. If some of the terms sound familiar to you, then hey, maybe this game is for you. What I love about CrossCode is its gameplay, customization, and overall sense of style, but do need to give a quick warning first. CrossCode is by no means an easy game. Just like its SNES inspirations, this game can ramp up its punishing sense of difficulty at any given moment, and battles against even common mobs can end up in you getting 1 or 2 shot. You may even find yourself getting utterly destroyed by dungeon bosses if you're not putting in enough effort to grind. And it's not just the enemies too. Some puzzles you find in dungeons and quests can be obtuse to the point of frustration or have time mechanics that require you to be frame perfect in all your inputs. But if you don't want to take the time to grind levels and better equipment, then there are sliders in the option menu that allow you to customize the timing of certain puzzles and how much damage the enemies do. Players are able to tailor the experience to whatever they want to get out of the game, which not a lot of indies offer to my knowledge. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. Compared to its inspirations, CrossCode's gameplay is very fast-paced. Players are given 4 different combat options with melee strikes, ranged attacks, shields, and dashing plus dash attacks, and can even unlock a wide variety of special moves. More often than not, some players, especially players like myself, may forget that the options are there in the heat of the moment, but oh boy do they look flashy and fun when you remember you have them. You're given lots of gameplay options for how to approach exploration, combat, certain puzzles, and quests. The only true advice I can give is to not be afraid to mix things up every once in a while. If one approach doesn't work and you end up dying, then try something different. The player character is perfectly balanced to make every approach work unless you're struggling on a puzzle or a particularly difficult boss, in which case I would say understanding patterns and/or angles is the key, just like Dark Souls. But above all else, CrossCode really shines with its style. Everything from the graphics, music, level design, writing, and humor is immaculately crafted to mesh together in perfect harmony. Graphically, the game is composed of 2D images and sprites, but I wouldn't blame anyone who believed it was a 3D game based on how the scenery blends together and how you approach some of the platforming puzzles and challenges. And with each environment comes a soundtrack perfectly crafted for it, either making you feel like you're right at home or you're in an environment that matches the music. Seriously, shout out to Deniz Akbulut, which I hope I pronounced correctly, and Steel Plus for doing such a great job with the music. But most of all, I love CrossCode's writing and sense of humor. The story in the game isn't an overarching narrative like most other RPGs, but is instead a character-centric and player-driven one. There is a narrative to follow, sure, but the characters are the true focus. I'm sure anyone listening can relate to the idea of somehow being able to make friends through online communities in games like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. Whether you're forging game connections now or you've had online friendships for a lifetime, this game really emphasizes that and gives players a real sense of connection with their own pasts. Between the party's witty banter and the character growth they undergo as part of the story, there's so much to experience and so much to enjoy. All these moments can also lead to some unintended funny moments as well. Between Leah's constant one-liners, or maybe I should say one-worders, other characters constantly playing the straight man to each other's antics, and one party member's irrational fear of bugs, players will find plenty of laughs along the way, and it's not limited to just dialogue. Players can meet some ridiculous NPCs, take part in some funny quests, or even see some cameos. I certainly didn't expect to slay Sonic the Hedgehog or stop an armed parrot mafia equipped with Gatling guns and coconut bombs from taking over an office building. But all that and more gave me plenty of laughs that will stick with me for a long time to come. And that's all I got. CrossCode is an indie game that deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as games like Cave Story and Hollow Knight, and everyone should play it at least once. It's already on every platform under the sun, after all. With all that being said, thanks for listening along with my rambling, everyone, and many thanks to Stormageddon and the Fun and Games podcast for having me. I've been CJ of Pause and Effect, and happy gaming.
Hey, you there! This is Nomad speaking. If you love retro video games and you're itching for some nostalgia, check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. In each episode, I'll use game music and sound to pull you into the gaming experience while I share my own thoughts and maybe a few memories. It's a great way to relive one of your favorite games or learn about a new one. Check out the Retro Wildlands podcast at superpodnetwork.com or wherever you listen to your podcast.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.